Greetings, programs, and welcome to the latest episode of Thumb Wars Presents Blistered Reviews. This time around, we're diving deep into the land of pixie dust, glass slippers, and adorable alien mischief makers with the Nintendo-published Disney Magical World. Does this life simulation produce a bountiful harvest, or is it just a cross animal in need of being put down?
Hi!
When Disney Magical World was first revealed, the immediate assumption by many was that the game was simply an Animal Crossing clone with Disney characters thrown in. And while certainly the title owes some debt to Nintendo's massively popular life simulation series, Magical World is rather more than just another AC wannabe. Indeed, the game actually draws upon a wide variety of sources for inspiration to produce a title that ends up being something of a unique smorgasbord of an experience. Its developer, Hand, whose previous works include Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days, Final Fantasy Fables Chocobo Tales, and Harvest Moon My Little Shop, have clearly put some real effort into what could have otherwise just been a cheap cash grab, and what they've ended up producing will likely pleasantly surprise many an unsuspecting gamer. The good: varied gameplay, lengthy content, controls, visuals, audio, menus, Disney-themed crafting. The bad: no fast travel, needs more Disney worlds, occasional camera issues. The ugly: cosplayers are going to go insane when they see some of the outfits Hand has dreamed up. Disney Magical World opens with players being sent an invitation to visit Mickey and friends in a magical, natch, land known as Castleton, which in practice comes across like a mix of the Disney theme park locations Toontown, Main Street, and Fantasyland. It turns out that the trip to Castleton is not simply a pleasure visit, but instead has been arranged by the sorcerer Yin Sid, so that he may recruit the player to help him deal with an infestation of nasty ghosts who have invaded both Castleton and a number of other nearby Disneylands as well. These ghoulies are causing mischief and havoc wherever they go, and now it's up to players to take on this spectral menace and stop them once and for all, while also making a life for themselves in this fantastical new realm. Right off the bat, it should be clear that Magical World is far more plot-heavy than, say, something like Animal Crossing, insofar as it actually has an overarching plot at all in the first place. But that's not to say that this is a linear story-driven affair either. Instead, players will get a number of episodic post-film tales set in a variety of Disney worlds that will grant them plenty of time to not only smell the roses, but grow them as well once they get past the 20-minute or so tutorial that opens the game. From that point on, they're largely free to go about their business and tackle the many gameplay options available to them as they please. These options include running a cafe, fishing, growing plants, dancing at balls, helping people with their problems, gathering crafting material, and tackling a series of increasingly difficult ghost-filled dungeons. That last example also further highlights how Magical World differs from many other life simulation titles, namely the inclusion of a simple yet well-made combat system that will have players battling a veritable army of ghosts across a number of Disney worlds. These worlds include the forest environs of Cinderella, the desert and caves surrounding Aladdin's Agrabah, and a trip through the gardens and hedge mazes of Alice in Wonderland at both full size and shrunk down to a more minuscule height. The battle with the ghost will eventually climax in a series of final showdowns back in Castleton, while a fifth world, the 100-Acre Woods, forgoes combat completely in favor of more leisurely challenges like hide-and-seek. I've played many dedicated action RPGs whose combat is not executed as smoothly and enjoyably as what is to be found in Magical World, and that's despite, in this case, dungeon diving only being one part of a much larger game. Players will go into battle with a magic wand capable of several kinds of attacks, and will also be able to make use of a dodge mechanic in order to avoid the varied attacks of the large array of ghosts that awaits them. Each world, excepting the home of Pooh and Company of course, has at least 10 dungeon levels that each climax with one or more boss battles. Players will eventually face a final boss in each world, and these encounters make for surprisingly epic and well-designed affairs, even if defeating this so-called final foe is really just the means to unlock a world's most challenging dungeon levels. While dungeon levels in Magical World are not randomized, in execution they rather strongly reminded me of the classic Dark Cloud games, in their general approach and especially in how they were heavily built around gathering materials for crafting. Indeed, basically the entirety of Magical World revolves around creating new items, be they clothes, furniture, magic wands, i.e. weapons, adventure outfits, i.e. armor, fishing rods, or more, and what items they are. Put simply, Magical World is a Disney aficionado's dream come true, with hundreds of Disney-inspired clothes, furniture, and even food creations waiting to be discovered. The sheer amount and diversity of what players can produce in Magical World is impressive, and discovering the next gorgeous yet ridiculous creation the game has to offer will be motivation enough for many to keep playing. I fully expect cosplayers to embrace the many outfits available in the game full hog, and Disney also needs to start merchandising the various pieces of dishware and furniture featured in Magical World as soon as possible, because I know plenty of Disney mega fans who would gladly spend a pretty penny to own the items featured in the game in real life. Speaking of these items, they come in play at the aforementioned cafe that players will be placed in charge of early on in Magical World, and it's here that the game presents players with the kind of customization options that one would expect in a more standard life simulation title. Players will be able to change every aspect of the cafe to their liking, including the menu, in a bid to draw customers and make the money needed to continue crafting everything Magical World has to offer. Creating combos via tables and chairs, the floor and wallpaper, the food on offer, and even the outfits of the cafe's server and manager will all increase both the popularity of and funds generated by the cafe, but doing so will also require players to gather the vast amounts of material needed to craft such items. In this way, each aspect of Magical World feeds into another, and helps ensures that even when players are messing around randomly, they're still making progress towards gathering one of the 100+ stickers that serve as the game's main method of unlocking new worlds, shops, quests, and more. Successful sales in the cafe will also build a meter that once full will let players throw a party that not only generates potentially massive profits, but can also, depending on the theme and decor used, summon one or more of dozens of popular Disney characters, including, but not limited to, Lilo and Stitch, Belle, Beast, Snow White, and Peter Pan. Once summoned in this fashion, these characters will tend to hang around Castleton for several days, and eventually will even offer players unique side quests that are the only way to gain some of the rarest crafting material in the game. And while this is a nice way of expanding the number of Disney characters present in Magical World, I'll admit that it would have been nice to actually be able to visit some of these figures in their actual homelands. Indeed, limiting the number of Disney worlds in the game to only 4 feels like a bit of a missed opportunity on the part of the creators. Even the first Kingdom Hearts game managed to include 9 full Disney worlds for players to explore on top of the several original locales created specifically for that game as well. Still, at least the worlds present in the game do a good job of capturing their movie counterparts, even allowing for their relatively small size in terms of real estate. And it's not like Magical World is lacking in content. I put over 40 hours into it for this review, and still had several chunks of content I had yet to unlock, to say nothing of the vast number of craftable items I'd yet to create. Visually, Magical World is a great-looking game. Its environments are colorful and appealing, despite the odd poor texture here and there, but its models for characters and items are where the game really shines. In a title like this, nailing the look of the various Disney personalities included is paramount, and Magical World does not disappoint. Every familiar face has been painstakingly recreated via 3D models that brim with life and subtle animations. And frankly, these are some of the best video game recreations of Disney characters I've yet encountered. In terms of audio, oddly enough, Magical World forgoes using any actual music from the various Disney properties at its disposal, and instead deploys an original score that does capture the essence of each Disney World well. I still think the game might have benefited by the inclusion of some familiar tunes, but I can't deny that Hand have produced a top-notch soundtrack that includes a particularly catchy piece in the form of the Even Castleton theme that I suspect will end up stuck in many a player's head. Overall, Magical World is an impressive debut for what I hope going forward will be a long-running series. Its numerous gameplay elements, such as farming and combat, individually might not be developed enough to fully carry a game by themselves, but together they make for a rich and varied experience that has the potential to appeal to a wide swath of players. The game gets very little outright wrong, while still leaving plenty of room for the formula to grow and expand in a number of ways in the years ahead. As is, I think Hand has produced something special, and I can see why Nintendo went to the trouble of translating and publishing Magical World themselves, as it's a perfect complement to the Big N's own library of 3DS first-party titles. While it remains to be seen if the game can generate the same kind of staying power of, say, an Animal Crossing entry, I will say that the inclusions of elements like the cafe, which also features a second floor that doubles as the player's fully customizable home, and seasonal events, for example in-game as of this review, Castleton is in the middle of celebrating Easter, bode well for its longevity. Disney Magical World is a must-play for fans of life simulations, Kingdom Hearts, or Disney in general, and even gamers just looking for a lively yet laid-back good time on the 3DS should seriously consider giving it a try. Its mixture of elements combined with its terrific production values makes for a title that anyone, regardless of age or gender, can truly enjoy. Score, 9 out of 10, must own. Recommendation, buy it now.